Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Project B and our very first edition of Ramen Run. I'm James.
And I'm Morgan.
And welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in with us. In this episode, we're just going to go through a bit about ourselves, introducing ourselves, a bit about our car history and journey, how we've ended up here, as well as about the channel, what you guys can expect, a couple of series that we've got coming up, including this one, Ramen Run. But yeah, how you going? How you going, Morgan?
I'm good. How are you?
That's good.
How's
Yes.
everyone else?
Yeah, very good. Very hot. It's currently the first, I think, 30-degree day here in Brisbane, and it's destroying me.
Yep. Sticky.
Yeah. So, I guess, Morgan, introduce yourself. How did you come to be with yourself and cars, and how would you say you got to where you are?
Well, I guess my car story, I guess you'd call it, started like most people when you get your first car. I'll be honest, I wasn't that into cars previously. I think getting my first car and being as broke as I was, I couldn't afford to send it to get serviced or anything like that. So I had to do oil changes, just the basic stuff for myself. And I think in doing that, it kind of, I don't know, it sparked a enjoyment and I don't know, it's kind of, from that it's just, it's just exploded, I guess, and I've just gotten into cars a lot more over the days. And yeah, so my first car was
take us through your car history.
Yeah, my first car was a Mitsubishi Lancer, 2003, I think it was, bright red. Well, it was red originally.
Turned a bit pink.
Yeah, it turned a bit pink. The clear coat kind of was non-existent by the time I sold it in the end, but yeah, it wasn't fast. I did the usual modifications for a young person like me. So I did the exhaust. There was a spoiler, some wheels. I was that kid. So yeah, I had that for about 4 or 5 years or so. And actually, while I owned that as well, I bought, what did I buy?
Skyline.
I bought a Skyline actually. Obviously the Mitsubishi Lancer wasn't that fast, and I wanted to go fast, so I went and looked in Brisbane in Australia. I know it's different in America, but in Australia, Skylines back then were really cheap. Mm-hmm. So I bought myself a R33 Skyline. Turbo manual,
that's like at the time it was like $6,000-7,000, but now it's you Americans, thank you, prices have skyrocketed.
Cheapest one I've seen in a while was like 15 grand at least.
Yeah,
which that's ridiculous. So yeah, I had that. That was good fun. I only had it for a little bit though, because at the time I was working at McDonald's, so pretty much minimum wage. I was also going to uni, so getting a Skyline and paying for the fuel wasn't fun, I guess, and I couldn't afford it really at the time. Thought I could, but a couple months into it I realized I couldn't. So I ended up selling that because of that reason. I just couldn't afford it, which I really miss it actually. It was such a nice car, so yeah, sold that.
Yes, and I will add, everyone that knew of the Skyline all told you, do not sell it, and then you sold it.
It was really nice, straight piped. It
would
dosed,
pop and bang.
Yeah, popped and bang, dosed like just so good. It made all the right noises.
So then you sold that one?
Sold that one, and then with the money I kind of had from that, I think it was probably a year maybe after I sold the Skyline. I think I went in halves with you in an Evo 7, which I'll let you explain. That was
So
Yeah.
I guess I'll explain that when we're talking about my car, because I ended up buying it off Morgan's portion of the car. And then that became my car. But so I paid you out, and with that money, you bought something a lot, or in my eyes, a lot better.
Yeah, so with the money that James paid me out from the Evo, because we went jointly on that one, I bought an S15 Silvia, because I've always wanted to get into the drifting scene. And you know what, you can't go wrong with an S chassis if you want to drift. I haven't hit a tree yet, so
it hasn't hit the wall at Archerfield.
Yeah. Well,
which is a drift track here. Yet at local to Brisbane. Luke Fink, thank you very much.
So yeah, I had that. I still got it currently, actually. Love the car to bits. It's been on the lift so many times. It's a Silvia, what can you say? Like, it's...
We are gearbox specialists.
Yep, gearbox specialists. It's been in and out like 4 or 5 times at least, and more to come. It still needs to come out again. So yeah, still got that. And then probably a couple months ago, or maybe only a month or so ago, because the Silvias have been having some problems, I need a daily. So I bought an E46 325i, so the 2.5 litre inline 6 rear drive. So that had that was nice luxurious aircon and all that, so it was nice as a daily. But then I was thinking as well, I don't want to be the classic dude who wraps his Silvia around a tree, so I'm like, I better actually learn how to drift in maybe a car that's less powerful than that, so that was my other reasoning. And I guess the E46 just ticked all those boxes for what I wanted.
And then you ticked another box of losing your license.
Exactly, yeah. So,
in the slow car.
Yeah, so because I only had the E46 like a month or so, I did a full service of it, all oils, filters and everything like that. And like a day or two after I completed that, I'm like, let's now actually see what this is capable of. I was stupid, I did it on the road. Shouldn't have been doing that. So me and my mate, we both went out in our cars and we got done for hooning. And so I've lost my license for 6 months.
So if you're wondering in the future where all our nice rolling footage comes from, you can look at Morgan, because he is currently riding taxi for the next 6 months.
I'm designated cameraman.
So you're looking at selling the BMW, because obviously you can't drive it.
Exactly, and 2 regos and
and a 6-cylinder rego.
Yeah, and I'm guessing by the time I get my license back, the Silvia should be fixed. So there's not really any use for the BMW in this, these 6 months that I've got my license taken off. So yeah, that's where I'm at today.
Yeah. Well, for myself, I think I was always into racing games, even as when we were kids, like Need for Speed, Gran Turismo, Midnight Club, even Crash Bandicoot, Crash Team Racing, you name it. If it was racing, I loved it. And then slowly from that, kind of, found the cars that I liked the look of, didn't like the look of, but everything was from a game. And then my first ever car was a 1999 Honda Civic. Awesome car, loved it to bits. Had that for years and years and years. But following on from that, I think my first real car, or somewhat of a cool car, which I wish I held onto it, because they're worth even more than what Skyline's worth now.
Regardless of the state.
Yeah, regardless of the state, would be the 180 SX that I bought. It was I think probably one of the cheapest even for that time. It was only $5,000, and it was horrible. It was like the paint was this green, like British racing green, but then it had as much fleck as you could possibly put into the paint without changing the color. The first time, I think the day I picked the car up from buying it, I went to a super cheap auto or the auto parts store here in Australia, and as I got out, a guy said to me, "Hey, nice paint," and then laughed. And I didn't care though. It was like all I could afford. It was fast. It made, like Morgan said, made all the right noises. It had a blocked off what do you call it? Blow off valve, so it made all the choo-choo noises. The front bumper had 2 fencing screws and just cable ties holding it on.
It was your typical
180.
S13 180.
It had a bit of a scrape in the rear on the quarter. It it was haggard. And then the worst part of it all were the seats. The seats were just filthy white leather.
We'll put a picture on so you can see.
We'll put pictures up of all the cars, but filthy white leather with green trimming and in big green letters, Fusion, written on the seats, and they were hideous. And I ended up getting car covers to cover them up because they were just so ugly. And provided no support at all. It was kind of like you're in a reclining chair. That's how much they flexed. But anyway, I had that car. I got rid of the seats, and still to this day, I haven't sold the seats.
Yeah, because no one wants
and
them.
I only put them up for $50. Now you can get S chassis like standard seats that not many people want for like $100-200, and they sell. These seats just don't sell, and I still to this day have them. The ad is still up. I haven't sold them in about 4 or 5 years.
So if anyone wants them,
if anyone wants the sexiest of sex spec seats for their S chassis, hit me up because I've got them. But yeah, so anyway, I got rid of those. I installed a set of Bride Lomaxes. Thank you, BJ. Hopefully he'll be coming on in one of the upcoming episodes, installing them. It was a nightmare. Whoever did the rails just did a crap job of it. And then I think I jumped just straight into modding it. I just caught the modding bug and I wanted to make it mine, and particularly I wanted to make it even faster than what it was. So it wasn't too bad when I got it. But then, yeah, we got bigger fuel injectors. I think I went with Nismo 550cc injectors, Tommy fuel pressure regulator, Apexi Power FC ECU. The car already came with a giant front mount intercooler setup, so I didn't have to worry about the intercooler setup. The turbo was off, I believe it was a 32 or 33 Skyline, so I didn't need to upgrade the turbo. And then the car already had a catback exhaust, so it was all there, just needed the last little bits. And then got it tuned, made 250 horsepower, I believe it was. And yeah, it was awesome. I had the tuner actually asked me, how do you want the boost to come on? And I said I want it all, like, immediately. So I think it had about 21 psi or pounds of boost, and it came on around 3,500 RPM. So it was just a little rocket ship.
Oh, it came on hard.
Especially with the brides would hold you in place and just throw, like, you just, well, at the time I thought was extremely fast. But yeah, then I saw what Morgan was talking about before. We had an Evo pop up for sale, another one of my sleepless nights. I'm trawling through Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree and car sales, and I found a Evo 7. Had some problems. Messaged the guy. Obviously at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, not many people reply. So anyway, wait till the next day. Guy replied, and then overnight he changed his mind. He said, I'm just going to take the ad down. But I kept keeping it. I kept in touch with this guy. I kept messaging him and just asking him how it was. He just kept trying to get it fixed. Took it to a number of different mechanics, and they couldn't figure out why this car wasn't working properly. And so then out of the blue, about 3 months later, he messages me back and says, if you want it, the car's yours, come get it. So we raced out there. I brought a friend of ours, Ed, the mechanical wizard. Hopefully he'll be on. And immediately said, it's the fuel pump. Fuel pump's dying. So basically what was happening is as the car was coming on boost, it was stuttering and stalling and just didn't like anything to do with boost. And apparently this guy had taken it to 3 different mechanics. They were saying it's your crank angle sensor, it's your camshaft position sensor, your AFM sensor, all these different sensors, and ended up replacing all these parts, but it never fixed the car. So anyway, he got sick of it and sold it to me. I think it was about 10 grand or so, which for an Evo at the time, they were selling anywhere from like your high teens to your low 20s. So it was a bargain of a deal. So we bought it, took it home. I bought a second-hand fuel pump the next day, and it worked. We had a fully working Evo for almost half price. And then, yeah, it was straight piped, had, nice, well, not really nice, they were the bane of my existence, but wheels, big chrome wheels. But it was awesome. And then if you don't know me, or anyone that does know me knows that there is one car brand that I love more than any other car brand. We are currently in one, and that is Porsche. I have a Porsche, I have a Porsche keyring, Porsche coffee mug at work, Porsche coffee mug at home, Porsche plaque in my room, everything. I love Porsches. They are, all the Porsche people are gonna be angry at me saying it's a Porsche, it's a Porsche. Apologies, Porsche people. Porsches, love them to death. I love everything about them. And even growing up playing all those car games, it was always gunning to get that first Porsche, always gunning to get normally the Cayman or Cayman S or something like that. So anyway, I was on Facebook Marketplace, always kind of looking at Porsches, but they were always way out of my price range. And this exact car came up for sale. It'd been in a crash. The guy put it up, I think it was about, put up for 15 grand or so. I ended up buying it for, I think it was 13 grand or something like that. And yeah, it was out of state. I never saw the car. All I got was photos and just talking with the guy. And yeah, bought it sight unseen, shipped it up to where I am here in Brisbane. The car was originally in Melbourne. And yeah, for the next 2 years, I was rebuilding this. As a car tries to beat us off the line. All within speed limits, by the way. But yeah, so rebuilt this, and then it was only this year that I got the car on the road officially. So now it's 100% done, ready to go, and I love every bit of it. It's probably the best car I've ever owned. And yeah, I just love everything about it. And then we've recently bought another car, which is for the channel. It's actually what we're starting our next series. Yeah. The series is called Lemon to Lambo. So over the years with our kind of car history, I guess, we have made some money along the way.
I think some of them were, not intentional, and I think that's I think is why we've also thought if we're making all this money unintentionally, like surely.
And what would happen if we put effort into it?
Which you've actually done yourself.
Yeah. So after doing this, I bought an Integra, a Honda Integra. That was the car I originally wanted when I got my first car, but they were a bit out of my price range, so that's why I got the Civic. But yeah, I bought a 2004 Honda Integra. Awesome little car, but I needed money for parts, especially for the Porsche. Porsche was very, very expensive, and the reason why it took 2 years was not of the amount of work that needed to be done. It took 2 years because parts for Porsches are extremely expensive. So I sold my Integra. I believe I sold the Integra to pay for just the headlights.
They were expensive headlights.
And I sold the Integra for 4 grand. I bought it for 3, sold it for 4. So I made $1,000 off of it. But even all of the money from the Integra didn't pay for the headlights. That's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the game. Porsches, it's a pay to play. You want the badge, you got to pay. But yeah, so I sold the Integra, and then recently, as the Porsche was finalized, I had, now that I wasn't dumping every single paycheck into the dealership in Brisbane, which I'm sure they love me because they had 2 years of every month me buying different parts. I then thought, well, I've thought about, flipping cars, so I thought I'd have a go, and I bought a Volkswagen Golf GTD, just like the GTI, just the diesel version, not as fast. Awesome car, loved it to bit, bought that for $8,000. Then with all the bits and bobs and registration and insurance, all that kind of stuff, took me up to about $9,000 the car owed me. I think the only thing wrong with it was the windshield. And yeah, so bought that, fixed the windshield, and then ended up selling it for $13,500. So I made $4,500 off the Golf. And yeah, realized that there is the ability to make money, and thought, why not? So the latest car that we bought, which if you're paying attention and you watch the upcoming videos, I've got a couple of videos after this, just a couple of little DIY videos on the new car that we've bought. You'll get a sneak peek of what that car is. But I guess we can segue into the channel. It is a Nugget. It is a Lemon.
It is a Lemon.
Thus the series. It's there's some things wrong with it. It's definitely not in the best shape. It needs a bit of love. So we've got that car.
Needs a good bath.
Yeah, it needs a very good wash. It was bought at auction, and the auction yard is not covered. We had, I think, our first lot of rain of this year pretty much come through, so it's very dirty, very dusty. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it's a cool car. We bought it, probably one of the cheapest running examples of the car.
There's just one back there.
So if anyone gets it in the camera, they won't be able to see what it is. But yeah, so it's probably, I think, one of the cheapest examples of it. The only ones really at the moment are ones that are broken or blowing smoke and all sorts of nasty.
A few moments later.
Apology guys, GoPro died. But yeah, the challenge that the next episode or the next kind of series that will be coming to this channel is Lemon to Lambo. So over the time we've sold cars and actually made money from it, we thought, let's do it for real. I've always loved the higher end exotic cars, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Ferrari. So we thought, why not start with something a bit crap, something a bit ratty, a bit lemony, and try and flip and trade our way up to a Lamborghini. So the next couple of episodes, like I said, will be little DIY videos of how to do certain stuff. You'll see them coming out. And then there'll be the first main video of the series of Lemon to Lambo. Yeah, fingers crossed you'll join us along with the journey, and fingers crossed we get there.
Yeah. And I guess if we don't, you'll find.
Yeah, I guess if we don't, you'll find out. But apart from that, in terms of the ramen runs, they're going to be hopefully about once every week. We'll do a ramen run video for you guys. I've got a couple of guests lined up ready to come on. And then the Lemon to Lambo is about once every week or so as well. Update videos, working on the cars. As soon as it sells, pretty much, we'll make the video and put it up that day. So you guys will know fairly quickly if we've sold the car, and then how much we got out of it and where we're sitting. But yeah, apart from that, thank you very much for watching. If you consider like and subscribing, that means a whole lot, especially in these initial stages of YouTube. But yeah, Is there anything else you wanted to say?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries. Well, I'll catch you guys next time, and yeah, see you in the next ramen run. Bye.